All right. So we should be recording now. So hope you guys listening and watching are having a great day so far. So I have a really special guest here for this video interview podcast, whatever you want to call it, Bethany Thomas. So she's been a one-on-one client of mine for about 5.5-ish months so far. I think it was February 2nd, I think was your like official start date when you started that challenge, I think. And then you like enrolled into coaching from there. But your progress has been awesome. So I definitely wanted to just have you on and just talk about your experience with coaching so far. But before we dive into that, just so like people can kind of get to know you a little bit, tell everyone, a little bit about you. Obviously your name's Bethany, but where you're from, do you have any kids? What do you do for a living? What does your day-to-day life generally look like? Anything, in regards to that you want to share?
Okay, sure. Well, hi, everybody. Like Joy said, my name is Bethany, and I am joining you today from Lebo, Kansas, small town, USA. My husband actually graduated from Lebo, and then we moved back to the area about 10 years ago or so. We have three littles, three kiddos, two boys, one girl, 6'4", and our little girl is 2. So little stair steps there. I'm a school counselor for our elementary building here at Lebo. So I work with pre-K through 5th grade students, just wrapping up summer and getting ready to kick off another school year here shortly. So it's always an exciting time of year.
Yeah. Do you get like excited to get back to school, or are you really just loving summer right now, not wanting it to end?
I mean, I both, if that's a choice. I do. I love summer. It's like a reset time. And then I have my 3 kids home for the summer. So it's really awesome to just be mom
Hmm.
and to give them, and myself like full attention and everything that I've got, and not have to always, it's always evenings and stuff. Like once you're back at work, like you only get so much time with them. So
Hmm.
yeah, summers are precious. Also love routines. So when August rolls around, it does feel good to like get back into it. Love working with my students. So it's always exciting to see how they've changed over the summer. So it's both. Love summer, love to like get back into routine, get back at it. And they fly by. Summers fly by, the school year flies by, and like we find ourselves another year.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's already getting to like the end of July. I feel like July literally just started, and July's a longer month too. And I feel like it just started, but it just flew by. Yeah, I don't know if maybe it was like the 4th of July timing. I feel like it kind of got celebrated like 2 weekends, at least for us, because like where we live, they did fireworks the following weekend too. So we kind of celebrated it twice. And then like all before we know it, it was, mid-July then.
Yeah, definitely.
So want to dive into, your progress, over the past 5.5 months, you've lost over 20 pounds, which I'm sure we'll get into. But I want to talk a little bit about like just how you even got started with coaching in general, how you even found out about it. I believe like you initially found out through your friend Jamie and her page, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I have an amazing sister-in-law, Jamie, and so we're very close. Our families love to get together. They live here in town, so your name had like gotten brought up. I mean, I think she's going on like year 2 or coming up on it with you in
Hmm.
coaching. So, and then I have another friend, mom here in town that also has worked with you long term. And so your name had got brought up. The whole idea of one-to-one coaching had got brought up. I didn't ask a whole lot of questions. I think I actually kind of use it as an excuse to just say that's not for me. If it when it did get brought up. And then yeah, I just found myself, especially like last year at the end of the year and January came, it hit like an all-time high on the scale. I kind of just told myself like I had that mindset of this is just mom. Like I'm just a mom now. I went up a couple of sizes, got the mom suit, the mom clothes, and it was going to be okay. But it wasn't just that. It wasn't just the number on the scale. It was the fatigue.
Hmm.
I could tell, I just felt like at work, I wasn't as productive. You come home and I had 3 littles, and when you're tired and your patience goes down, everything else was struggling too. And so I think that is probably what bothered me the most. And January kind of rolled around, and I kind of was just like, okay, God, like something's got to change. I'm not even 35 yet. And I don't think this is like the path I want to be on, like mentally, physically, nutritionally, something had to change. And so, yeah, here comes Jamie. She's got this like 3-week challenge. She's like, you need to give it a try. Like, stakes are low. It's 3 weeks commitment. You can do it. She was like baby steps. So even that though was like getting out of my comfort zone
Hmm.
for sure. And yeah, it was, and it went fast. Like the 3 weeks was like, here's all the things, here's some apps. At the time, like I wasn't even like bothering tracking steps or anything like that. Never owned a food scale. Let's see. I'd been on
Yeah.
my fitness pal, but it had been like years ago. So like just re-downloading and like getting in tune with what I needed even to get started.
Hmm.
So those 3 weeks went fast, but it was awesome too, because as nervous as I kind of was about it, like you create this like community of women though that come together and start sharing like recipes or questions. Like the questions just started rolling in. Like there was no dumb question because everybody was on the same, like we're all starting on the
Uh-huh.
same page, getting started. And so I think that kind of like helped me let my guard down a bit, and kind of jump in. But
Yeah. So you heard it from Jamie about the challenge, and I've been trying to get her to do one of these interviews actually the past couple weeks. So hopefully you doing one will push her to do one. Did you tell her that you were doing it or not?
no,
Oh, okay.
no.
Well, I'm gonna have to get on her about that. Like, probably after we get off here, I'll probably message her and be like, "Hey, by the way, I just talked with Bethany. Like, now it's your turn," because she's been
Yeah.
kind of on the fence about doing it. But, anyways, so you found it out about her, and it sounds like a lot of these things, like tracking your steps, tracking your food, and all of that was pretty new to you. And you were at this spot where you were uncomfortable in your own skin. You were feeling really tired and sluggish all the time. And that was impacting obviously how you feel, but even impacting like how you show up as a mom for your kids. You kind of mentioned you were a little bit more irritable when you would come home. And I think some of that is probably linked to like the fatigue and energy too. And some of that is even just like the confidence we have in ourselves. Like when we don't feel confident in either the actions that we're taking or how we feel in our own skin and our clothes. You start the day off trying to get dressed and you're unhappy with how this fits or that fits. And that like subconscious, just like feeling irritable about how your body looks or how it feels kind of lingers throughout the day. And you can be more irritable later on in the day just from like not having that, confidence in yourself and feeling happy with where you're at there. Tell me like what kind of things did you try or attempt before the challenge in coaching that I'm assuming like maybe worked a little well, but it didn't feel like a long-term solution or maybe didn't work at all. And that's, why you jumped into the challenge in coaching.
Yeah, I definitely tried like a few things. I remember like keto was really popular, bought the keto cookbook, tried to cut out flour and sugar, and yeah, think I lost some weight, but obviously not sustainable, was not enjoyable.
Yeah.
See, yeah, fasting was like really big. We had some people, like a group of like plexus people, and like tried to do fasting, but I never also like I was not parent with any type of like exercise, like physically getting active. So I just those things did not last.
Hmm.
They weren't realistic, especially I don't know, long term.
Yeah.
So
More like quick fix solutions of, okay, here are things to maybe get the weight off quickly, but not, you weren't going to commit to cutting out all carbs or eating a keto lifestyle for the rest of your life, it sounds like, or you weren't going to commit to fasting all the time for the rest of your life either. And I think I remember because I was looking through like your initial forms and everything before we got on here. I think you had put like, even just picking up a weight would be like a big win for you, getting started with it. So like that's a big change too. So you were doing the more like, okay, how do I restrict my food and take a ton, whether it's cutting out a food group or eating these narrow windows, but it sounds like obviously you weren't really tracking your food, didn't really know how much you were eating, and obviously didn't have the lifting weights or strength training component with all of that. And did you see a little bit of results with those and then would just like quickly gain the weight back, or like you just weren't able to even consistently stick to it to really see anything from it?
I actually, and we kind of like laugh looking back, but like I felt really good and had lost some weight right before we had my first son, and like feeling really good. And then I was like, oh yeah, we're expecting.
Yeah.
And then I pretty much used that as my crutch for like well, our oldest is 6, so like the past 7 years. Because
Hmm.
we do kind of have little stair steps. So it was like, pregnancy and even like the postpartum breastfeeding, things like that. Kind of just use that as my crutch of like, well, now is just not a good time to be cutting or counting calories or getting active, to start picking up weights all of a sudden or to be out running. And so that was kind of just my crutch or like, breastfeeding. I need all the calories I can get, which I think is true to a point, but I was definitely not choosing probably the right nutrition for that time period.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
so
Go ahead.
no, that's
I was just going to say, I think a lot of, women fall into that trap of like, especially if they expect to like get pregnant again, especially in the near future. Like you said, they kind of fall into, well, it's not like even worth it. I mean, I'm just going to end up gaining more weight, when I get pregnant again. But you still can like make a lot of progress in that time frame and at least put yourself in a better or healthier position when you do get pregnant again and then even continue it through pregnancy. I mean, I don't know if you watched the interview we that was in the Facebook group with Meredith.
like Meredith. Yeah.
Yeah, with Meredith this week, but like she joined coaching postpartum, lost 40 pounds, and then has been in coaching for the 7 months she's been pregnant. And this has been such a great pregnancy for her compared to her first one because of that. And she's still doing all the things, still lifting weights, still tracking her food most of the time. We're taking a more flexible approach with her, and not logging 7 days just because she can, have that more flexibility. But like still doing the things has helped so much. And I've had two other clients that I've worked with this past year throughout their pregnancy, their whole entire pregnancy from start to finish. And it's gone so well. And one of them, Eileen, she's down another like 40 pounds and she had her baby past December. So I say that to say like a lot of people like they wait until I'm going to wait until I'm done having kids entirely to like do coaching where it can still be so valuable even during those periods. But obviously we didn't know each other then. So like that was part of it. So, you tried keto, tried intermittent fasting or some type of fasting and weren't really seeing like the results that you wanted, at least something that you could stick to. So when you joined, I guess the challenge, and I know like towards the end of the challenge, we had a conversation of, okay, like, do you want to continue this? Right. Like you were seeing great results in the challenge and despite everything being kind of new to you too. So how were you, I guess, like when you started the challenge, did you think this was going to turn into a long-term thing? And then I guess when you got to the end of the challenge, were you still pretty nervous to sign up and hesitant? Or were you like, all right, I've done this for 2 to 3 weeks. I'm feeling really good. Like I'm all in. Like tell me about your mindset and I guess both of those time points.
Yeah. So it did. I felt like the 3 weeks did go fast and like had to get a few things like worked out. But it was definitely like getting my feet wet and it wasn't enough. Yeah. We definitely still like a financial commitment and wanted to talk to my husband about it kind of situation. Like as a family, how are we doing? And then also, I think you just need that really like intrinsic motivation to like, yes, like it just wasn't enough and I wanted more. So we had like our call and then signed up for 6 more months.
Hmm.
But I remember too, like sitting and just like talking through some things with you. Like at that point, I had so many questions still. Because again, like I hadn't lifted and even at that point, the challenge, I still didn't have like weights at home. I did not have like I think I went over to Jamie's for like one session just to say like I did one during those 3 weeks, but otherwise like we don't necessarily have a gym. Like we have our high school workout gym here in town, but nothing local. And so I hadn't like I didn't have it figured out, but I had to like let that mentality go of like I'm going to do this on my own. I have to have all the answers. I need to know what I'm doing. Everything has to be perfect. And like talking with you that day, it was like, yeah, life doesn't work that way. So,
Hmm.
and that's the whole point of like one-on-one coaching. You're like, like we're going to work through this together and get these questions answered. Yes, it'll be new, but it's like, it's okay. And so I was ready to do it and commit, but also was nervous still, like what it was going to be like that journey. And so,
Hmm.
but I think like felt reassuring after our call too. Like, that's what I'm here for. Like, that's what you're here for. That's one-on-one coaching. That's the journey we're going to go on together. And let's do it.
Mhm.
Let's get started. So
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people do struggle with that almost like stubbornness of wanting to do it on their own, and they thinking, oh, like should be able to figure it out. Like so and so, this person from work, they're in great shape all on their own. Like I should be able to figure it out too, or whatever. But people are different. People have different genetics, different situations. People have been exposed to different things too. Like maybe the person you're comparing yourself to, maybe they did coaching, years ago for a couple of years or something and learned a lot there, or maybe they invested so much time and effort into learning all of these things the proper way to, do a fat loss phase or to build muscle, whatever it is. And you just don't have the time to do that. Like you have your own job, you have your own kids, and you have other things you want to do versus sifting through, research studies and like how to actually do things the right way. And then I think the other thing that you had to get over to, thinking back to our conversation is like you said, the all or nothing mindset and mentality and thinking things need to be perfect where like you shouldn't sign up for coaching. I mean, I wouldn't say you shouldn't, but I think people think that you should only sign up for coaching if you're like ready to go all in. You have all of your ducks in a row. Like your life is completely like quiet for the next 6 months. Like I can devote all this time to it. But that's not like how coaching works or how it should work. You should join coaching like even like in your busiest times, because if you can learn how to like make the most out of the little time that you have, then that goes a long way for when your schedule does get freed up and now you're able to devote even more time to it. Or if you have a trip or a vacation, like learning how to navigate those things are super important to seeing success long term. So if you only try to do coaching like when you don't have those things going on, you're never going to learn how to actually manage those situations and like walk away from them feeling successful too.
yeah.
So you signed up, you jumped in, and we spent the first looking at your roadmap, the first pretty much like month and a half, almost 2 months, just building your calories up, and you actually did even lose like 7-ish pounds on average from like the beginning of the challenge until then in that like priming body recomposition phase. So tell me a little bit about like I guess that phase. Were you surprised at that? I know we had talked about like what to expect a little bit, as we got started with that, but was that something that was like, because a lot of people say that that's like really confusing to them that you're going to start by increasing, your food intake versus dropping food and dropping calories. So how was your experience with that?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I'd say surprised by a lot of things, honestly, getting started. And yes, losing weight while seeing the calorie like range going up was one of them. Definitely thought like it was like thinking about just the little bit of knowledge I had and previous things, and that kind of like myth thinking I was going to be, really restricting the calories and, we're going to come in and say like, I don't know, really low calories. And like, that's to me, that was like how you lost weight. So even just the priming phase was interesting and surprising. And to see the numbers like going down, I think too, back to the beginning, I you know, thought like, I don't know. I guess I thought like, I mean, after we had met, I knew it wasn't going to be like a strict, like, gotcha, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. Like, but each phase, like priming phase, like the coaching is a learning piece for me, I guess. And so even in that priming phase, like it just was a surprise. Like it wasn't, we just started and then it was like, nope, like this is what you got to do. And you didn't make it this week or you didn't hit this goal. It was a learning process. And maybe that's me just coming out of education field, but I just learned so much even in that first phase. And that was surprising to me. And then as we moved into like a fat loss phase, like same thing. So like each week, honestly, I feel like I've learned stuff. And it's just educating like you helping me educate myself on the weight training, the calorie, the tracking, meals, nutrition. So I think that's probably my biggest takeaway and probably surprise from the program. Like not surprised, but like maybe wasn't what I was expecting going in necessarily.
Yeah, that you weren't just getting a list of, okay, here's everything you need to do, but you also were learning the science behind things too a little bit, like maybe you don't understand it enough to like become a coach yourself now, but you understand like in the context of your journey, why you're doing certain things, why they are causing some kind of physical change, over time. And that helps you to just be more bought into the process too. If you're just thrown a bunch of tasks to do, but you have no idea like why is this even important? Like why do I even have to be keeping track of this? Or like why are we increasing calories? Like what's even the point in this? It can become confusing and you aren't as mentally bought in then if you don't understand it. So I think that's a really valuable part and what coaching should like or it should be a part of coaching, which is not only just like your game plan, but like teaching you the why behind your game plan too. So I think like that, is super important. And I'm glad that you're getting so much out of that, every single week too. So we went through the priming phase and brought your calories from like, I think maybe you started at like 1600 or so. We brought them all the way up to like 2200 ish. And like I said, you had lost like 7 pounds on average from, between those weeks. And then we started your first fat loss phase. So was there anything like unique about the fat loss phases before or like compared to what you probably would have expected in the past? Maybe like the one or two higher calorie or maintenance days we have in there was like unusual, or maybe you have, heard of that strategy before, but I'm curious, like if there's anything surprising or anything that you really liked about the fat loss phases versus how you maybe would have gone about it on your own.
Yeah, you mentioned like the 2 days of the higher calorie range, like those maintenance days. I feel like those are game changers because if you just kind of knew, I mean, those aren't binge days, but also, if you're going to go out to eat or something and you're planning ahead, you also don't feel like you like failed that day or like, oh man, like it wasn't like a wasted day. You could plug it in as a maintenance day. And so I feel like that just mindset wise, like keeps you rolling. Like I am still on track. Like I use that. We went out to eat, had a maintenance day, or just had a bigger meal or had family over. Like this is my maintenance day. We don't always have dessert laying around, but like that day there was dessert options or whatever. But you're still on track. And so mindset wise, I mean, I think that just builds your success in that fat loss phase. Like I'm on track. I still hit my goal, still enjoy dessert,
Hmm.
and now I can keep rolling. So, and and that flexibility too, like 1 or 2 days, like there's weeks like you don't need two, maybe it's one. So that, yeah, I think having those built in is like helps with sustainability and kind of just your mindset, like mentally where you're at during that fat loss phase.
For sure. And I think it helps it to just feel more like sustainable to the fat loss phases because, I mean, when you're eating less calories than what you burn, like in a fat loss phase, obviously, like you mentioned, we're not bringing your calories down to like 1,000 or 1,200, anything like super crazy there. But you are eating a little bit less than what your body burns. And your hunger is going to be a little bit higher on those days. And like having those one or two maintenance days, even if you don't have like a celebration going on, even if you're just like at home and just eating a little bit more food on that one day, it does give you a little bit of like a physiological and mental break from, oh, like I don't have to feel that extra lingering hunger as much on this day. And it helps to kind of reset you mentally of, okay, like now I got 6 more days and maybe five, in this lower calorie range. And then, I'll have another maintenance day coming versus getting like a calorie range and then be like, oh, I got to like maintain this low calorie range every
Sure.
day for the next 2 months. Like, oh, that's going to be really hard without a little bit of a break and without me feeling like I'm quote unquote cheating or failing if I do, go up in calories a little bit. And then even just the physical, like physiological benefits of now your energy is a little bit higher for those next few days. Your workouts are probably going to feel a little bit better those next couple of days too, because you got a little bit more calories and more carbs in your system on that day or two if you take two of those maintenance days. So we've only done actually one fat loss phase so far. And we actually just started the first week of our first diet break, like this week.
Yeah.
But that first fat loss phase that we did, you lost about 12-ish pounds on average. And then, like I said, you lost about like 7 pounds on average from like the very beginning. So down about 19 to 20-ish pounds on average. And I think from like your heaviest to your lowest, down 22 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. I just kind of looked right before we got on here. Uh, so tell me like what kind of other, like what wins have you experienced over these like 5-ish, 5.5 months, as you've lost the 22 pounds, other than obviously, the weight in the scale being down?
I was mostly excited. And it was probably about like halfway through that fat loss phase. We were ordering shirts through school and I ordered a medium. And that was probably like my first like real like non-scale like victory. Like it felt good. Like that confidence boost just rolls over and spills into the rest of your day. Kind of like you said, like you start the morning off on the right foot and with a feel good, a win, and it does. It just spills into your day. So that was probably like my first big win, but I've really noticed it this summer. Like we've been pretty active. We're outdoors. We live out in the country, and so that's kind of what we do. If we don't have plans or we're not going somewhere, like we're outside here. My kids like to go for walks. Their big thing right now is just like hanging out in the corn fields, finding their treasures, their things. And so it's just I've noticed it this summer, like more energy. I still get up pretty early in the morning, just keeping my routines where probably in the past it was not that case. That was not the case. And so I feel like I have more energy and it's exciting. The strength training part, although they're like baby steps, but it's exciting. Like just to go up, like I think I finally got rid of like the 10 pounders. And that was exciting. That was a big
Mhm.
win. I think I even
Yeah.
like texted you. I was like, I can put these away. Like I don't need these, or buying some adjustable weights was a big win. So like just some small victories that a year ago I did not see that for myself
Yeah.
being in the
Yeah.
place.
Go ahead.
So I was just thinking back, actually it made me think of, and shout out to Jamie, last summer, she was like on the hunt for like barbell set. And
Uh,
I remember like going up to Kansas City with her on the hunt for this stuff. And I was like, man, like, who are you? Like, I always thought like, I don't know, kind of always associate like weightlifting with like some major bodybuilders. And I'm like, wow, like go Jamie, look at you.
uh,
But here I am, like, and not on that scale. And, like you said, we've only been working 5 months, but like, I don't know, I would have not seen myself purchasing a weight bench or adjustable weights when we
mhm.
first started. So it's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, so many really cool wins, that you've had over this time period, and to just experience all this within just one fat loss phase, and we haven't even gone through like a second fat loss phase, haven't even finished your first diet break and reset phase where we bumped calories up a little bit, which I think you even hit a new low weigh in either today or yesterday with the higher calories this week compared to like the previous week. So like, even seeing some more fat loss probably this week with the higher calories. So there's still so much for us to go through. So the fact that like you've experienced this many wins and kind of overcome this many things up to this point is really exciting for going forward. And I remember when you started this, like you said, you didn't really have any weights at home. You had to look for adjustable weights and you got those. And, one thing that you do really well is just asking for help and like asking for feedback, when you can too, with whether it's like meals or like restaurants you're going to, asking, okay, what's a good thing to order from this restaurant? How could I log it? Or sending over the exercise videos, you doing a couple of sets here and there so I can give you feedback on your form. Like you really, you know, try to like, I can tell that you want to improve, right? Like, sometimes people do something like this and like they don't take advantage of everything that they can where they can get feedback on their meals, they can get feedback on like what to order at restaurants, and they can get feedback on their form to just improve their progress and results so much. But you do a great job at doing those things, and I think that's one reason why you've been so successful too.
Yeah. And that'd probably be an advice I had to somebody too. And I think it's gotten better too. I think in the beginning, it was definitely out of my comfort zone, and it is hard to like this person I've met over like a phone call, but like you said, to like get the most out of the coaching piece, you just kind of have to like, I don't know, not be afraid to do those things. And and I think you and Katie both, like, you guys are really relatable and like vulnerable yourselves. Like you've got families that you're raising littles, and you guys like share like real life things, whether it's like your kiddos or challenges that you guys are going through, and how you like maneuver through life obstacles. And so I think that piece is relatable and like builds that relationship too. And so I think that's definitely like a benefit of coaching one on one. So I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry.
No, I
Well,
mean,
I
I
just,
totally
yeah,
agree. I think that's
my
a
advice
huge.
to somebody would just to be, yeah, like take advantage of it. And it was awkward in the beginning, but I think you guys do a good job of like relating to, you're just real people, but you have the education. That's what that's what you guys do, but you make it easy. And
Mhm.
you all the chats and the apps and things like that, like you're connecting tons of women even if it's just to share recipes or ask questions or vent, share challenges that they're going through. And so you like are creating this safe space. It kind of makes me think to like counseling, even with kiddos, yes, we want to educate them. They come to school, but even sometimes it's like meeting the basic needs and creating that safe place to nurture and grow. But that's kind of what you're doing for us too, the whole person, whole child. So that's kind of my perspective on it, I guess. And so I appreciate the group, and it's awesome because some of the women have worked with you for so long. Even just think of like Jamie and Andrea, like they're
Hmm.
badass women and moms, and it's inspiring, it's motivating. And so I think it does like, and it is out of your comfort zone, but I think even just over the 5 months, like I've been more comfortable sharing a workout video or just asking the questions and things like that and getting the most out of the coaching. So
Yeah, for sure. And it's nothing a thing where like you have to send every little thing over necessarily either. Like you probably obviously know this that like I'm not going to message you at the end of each day and be like, you didn't send over any meals or didn't send anything over. Like, what are you doing? But at the same time, like I am always here, which you probably know too. Like whenever you message me, like I'm going to respond, I'm going to give you a thoughtful response, give you, as much insight and detail as what you need to, learn and be successful too. And so I just wanted to say that too, because I don't want people to think, oh, if I'm not ready to message Joey every little thing every day, then like I'm not going to start coaching because that's not the case either. But if you really do, and I think you're a good example of this too, where if you really want to make the most out of, coaching and this experience and really get all you can out of all these resources, you don't have to do everything all at once. You just have to focus on just how can I be like a little bit better every week, when I have the capacity to. And I think a good example of that, for you is like we talked about the lifting weights thing. When you started this, like you weren't lifting weights at all. And then you started off by just lifting like pretty light weights. Like you didn't really have any heavy weights to really push yourself that much. But hey, let me just do lighter weights and get used to the workouts and the exercises. And then after a period of, I don't know how many weeks, it was probably at least a couple of months until you actually got like heavier dumbbells, if I'm not mistaken. And then you finally ordered, some heavier dumbbells where now you can push yourself a little bit more. And like you probably send over what an exercise video like once a week, maybe once every couple of weeks. Like, so it's not like you're feeling like, oh, I have all these homework assignment tasks to like send all this stuff over, but you are over time chipping away at, the knowledge you're gaining, how to put your meals together, obviously like hitting your nutrition goals and everything along the way. And as long as you come into this with the mentality of, I'm going to, focus on getting 1% better every single week. That's going to continue to stack up over time for a long period of time. And the longer you do this, you're going to end up breaking, these barriers or reaching new milestones and levels to where, oh, like now I actually do need heavier dumbbells, or now I actually do like know how to use good form. I mean, like I could think about the form videos you sent me like the very first few weeks and compare them to now, and your form is like night and day difference. Like your tempo on your exercises is so much better. Your range of motion is so much better without me even having to like tell you sometimes too. Like you already send me videos and I'm like, oh, like your form looks great. Nothing really to change with form, but like maybe let's just go up and weight and push ourselves a little bit more because that's a reminder everybody needs. But like, so even just that in just a 5 month period, like you're taking the feedback I'm giving you and implementing it. And that's, one really good way to be successful like you have to. So I wanted to get your opinion too on just like your experience or your thoughts on doing something like this while just like being a mom and having other things, I guess, time wise, that you could be spending your time on instead. Like instead of doing a workout, you could be doing this with your kids or, cleaning the house or doing the laundry, at this time or whatever it might be. And then even the financial aspect too, like you could be putting that money towards buying them more presents or gifts or whatever it may be, or something else you feel like they might need. Because I think a lot of women, especially moms, feel this guilt when it comes to investing in themselves financially to be better, or even investing in themselves, even time wise, to improve their health and their confidence too. So, like, what were your feelings towards that? Did you have any kind of guilt in that way? And how did you like think through that and navigate that? And how has maybe your mindset like changed a little bit regarding that, if it has?
So my pastor once said, like, you prioritize what is important to you. And so I try to use that lens in all aspects of my life. And so, I'm going to make time for what is important to me. And that can either be like an excuse or it can like push you and excel you. And so in this case, I felt like, you know, yes, my children are important to me, but also prioritizing some time to myself and taking that, like to get in a session, 45, maybe an hour workout. I feel good, when I'm done, I feel good about myself. And I've made improvements mentally and physically, nutritionally, and like all these things by prioritizing that and myself some. I am bringing my best self as a mom, as a wife. So I don't know. I try to like think about that and the time where I'm spending my time. In the beginning, I was like, wow, even like 7,000 steps or 10,000 steps. Like, who has time for that? Like, who's just constantly walking or like, when do you walk? Like, my husband leaves pretty early for work and gets home after I do. And so I'm usually the one that gets him up. We go to school, work, whatever it's during the school year, and then come home and it's evening routines and things like that. And so it was kind of like at first like, oh my gosh, like I'm never going to hit 10,000 steps. How could I, when am I going to get that in? Or, sessions, and you've got like the different programs to sign up for if you're going to do 3 days, 4 days, 5 days for training sessions. So of course I was like, yeah, like 3 sounds good. Surely I can make time for that. But by prioritizing, and cutting out some other things that, maybe weren't necessarily unhealthy, but I didn't need them or they weren't making me better or they weren't weren't benefiting my family, cutting those things out, 5 months later, I usually typically don't have a problem hitting 10,000 steps, or getting 3 workouts in a week because my priorities change. And so or habits, whichever you kind of want to look at it, however you want
Mhm.
to look. But yeah, I do remember thinking that at the beginning, like, oh my gosh, there's no time for that. But there is, because you just have to change your priorities and your habits. It's amazing what you can do. Like you're not getting more time in a day, but maybe you're just cutting out, you know, I don't know, scrolling or, thinking, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask is what were the main things you felt like you cut out or reduced the time that you were spending on that like really weren't that important to make time for that, right? Because I think a lot of people have that mentality, like you said, of, oh, I don't have time to get at 10,000 steps, but they're spending like, if you look at your screen time on their phone, like they're spending, a few hours at least just scrolling through social media or, at least an hour scrolling through social media or if you were keeping track of like their time on Netflix or something, like you could see, oh, they watch a TV show for an hour every night. Where like, yes, that can be enjoyable, but if you're complaining or unhappy with where you are physically and like this is time you could spend on that aspect, like you do have the time, you just have to make it. So like was that like scrolling, was that like the big thing or was there something else that you were like, yeah, this isn't really serving me that much in my life and a workout or planning my food or my steps would serve me a little bit better that you kind of swapped that time out for?
Uh, yeah, I also think just like, I don't know if you would say like efficiency, but like realizing that, you know, as active as my kids are, like we can do these things together. We can go on, I can be getting my steps and go on a walk or push my, 2-year-old on her bike and do those things together and not just be like, oh my gosh, like I have to do this plus play with my kids, I guess. So a lot of those things can be, done together. But yeah, I don't know. And also
I also
I
think you've sent me like a couple of texts or maybe even pictures of like, one or two of your kids like in your down in your like, home gym
or
area
yeah.
with you
Yeah.
before too. And it's like that's what a lot of my workouts look like, especially on the weekends too. Like my son comes down and he's playing with, the weights or some of the equipment in there too. Obviously I'm watching him to make sure he's staying safe. And he has his own like kind of fake weights too that I try to like get him to play with more. And sometimes they're involved, and sometimes my workouts end up taking longer than what they should because, like, I have to stop them from grabbing certain things, or they're talking to me, and I'm talking back and forth with them. But like, that's also a blessing too because then you can show them like how important working out and staying healthy should be to them. Like, you can actually lead by example versus it being something separately that you have to do. I also find that like sometimes, and maybe it's just because of like our oldest is like he's a boy, my son Aiden. He's 3.5. He's gonna be actually 4 soon in a few months. But like and I know there's different like views on like how active boys are versus girls, but getting a like 10,000 steps in for me when he's home and I'm, playing around with him or like whatever it is pretty easy. Like when he's home from daycare and he's home in the evenings, even those 2 hours, like he's constantly on the go. And if I just commit to, like you said, pushing them on the bike or running around with him, or maybe he's just riding his bike himself and I'm just like jogging next to him or, whatever it might be, like, or just being outside and doing things with him. Like you get a lot of steps. And I think a lot of people let their kids play sometimes and then they just kind of sit and like watch, but it's like you can be involved in the play too. And you'd be surprised at like how many steps and how active you can be then.
Yeah, yeah. Like we will, if we do go to the park or something, like can walk the boundary of the park and get in steps. And so I had to let some things go, but also just like being creative, I guess. Summer has been interesting because during the school year, I was working out kind of in the evenings. They usually weren't around or were already in bed. And so summer, I've been doing more during the day. And so it's been fun. They've been hanging out, whether they drag in their Legos and toys or, yeah, up in my space when I'm trying to do things, but that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's not clean cut of, okay, here's my 45 minutes that's cut out for me to work out and it's my silent time. Like sometimes they're involved and they're interrupting you and it is what it is. And sometimes you maybe have to cut your workout short by a couple of exercises because of time reasons too. But getting 75% of that workout in is still much better than 0%. And it still goes a long way. And going to like the topic too about just like, investing this time in yourself and even financially investing in yourself too and feeling like that's taking away either time for your kids or your family or like financial resources for your time and your family. Like I think if you think very short term, it's easy to have that mentality of, okay, like, oh, this is money I could be spending on them in this area. But when you think long term and think, okay, over the next 20 years, how is this investment going to potentially benefit them? I think the benefits of them far outweigh like the short term cons, quote unquote, that they might experience from like, you investing in yourself. Like you're going to be healthier. So you're going to be able to be around for them longer. You're going to teach them better habits. So then they are going to be healthier when they get older. And I think those two things are really invaluable and far outweigh like the potential, financial costs or time costs that you're, feel like you're maybe sacrificing to do something like this. And I think a lot of people also think they need more time than what they do. Like you said, you're doing 3 workouts a week. It's not like you're doing a workout every single day, 7 days a week. And I think people also overestimate how much time it takes to like plan their meals and track their food, where like if you probably counted out the minutes that you spend on average in your food tracking app, like for me it's like 5 minutes a day that I'm actually spending in the food tracking app. For you, I mean, it would probably be 30 minutes at the most, I would say, maybe even a lot less. I don't know if you've ever looked at that or not.
No, I kind of want to go check it out. But yeah, absolutely. And two, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, I've probably spent money definitely in worse ways or like wasted money in worse ways. So yeah, I think putting it towards yourself is definitely worthwhile. It's an investment.
Hmm. Yeah. So I know we're kind of getting close to an hour too, so we can definitely like wrap up a little bit too. But I wanted to just like ask you too, and you kind of touched on it too, but like how has the program maybe impacted you in other areas other than just like physically, like maybe mentally, like your confidence or how you view things or whatever it may be? What were some like key things that kind of come to mind when you hear that question?
Yeah, good question. I like overall, and you know, it's also summertime, so I'm finding a little bit more time for myself. But I love like lately the new check-in sheet had the little checkbox or like question regarding like what has been really good this week, and like there's a new box for like the mental like check-in. So just like even like a little bit of self-care or practicing gratitude. I think that overall like making that part of the journey has been beneficial, being a little bit more intentional each week and overall. And I am excited to get back to school, back to work, and kind of see how I think how I ended the year. Definitely feeling much better about things and kind of getting the energy back and focus, even like I don't know, even things like in my memory, I feel like, and again, maybe it's just like confidence, but like my memory and patience, all the things. I feel like I ended the school year in a good place, much better than where I was at in January. And I'm excited to see how, like, especially having this like summer break and really focusing. And that's probably also like, I feel like I have like been asking more questions or sending like for feedback and things like that a little bit more, especially over these summer months and being home. And so just kind of seeing how August rolls around and kind of how it is to like get back to work and excited to see what it looks like in another 6 months.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I think, this process, this journey, when you do it the right way, it does just impact so many other areas. Like you said, your patience, because you learn to, be patient with like the weight and the skill. You learn to kind of trust the process over a long period of time and realize, okay, if I keep doing these things, the desired outcome I want, like it will come. Even if today it's like I look in the mirror and maybe, it is my period or whatever it is, and I'm feeling extra bloated, like I know I'm still doing the right things because I, trust in the plan that Joey gave me and everything and all of this that like I'm going to see results if I just keep going with that. And that's like a level of patience and like delayed gratification and trust that it's hard to gain. And that I think transfers over to just, your trust and everything else in life and being able to stay more like level headed and emotionally, balanced when you have stressful things going on in your life. And I love that you've been spending more time just like for yourself too, to be more intentional throughout your day, practicing gratitude, because I think so many people would benefit from that, whether they're on a fitness journey or not, just trying to like mentally slow down a little bit because we're always so busy with so many tasks we need to complete,
Mhm.
especially, with working full time, with kids, summer activities, birthday parties, all of this stuff, extracurriculars. Like it's so easy to get lost in life. And something that I've been trying to do myself a lot this year too is just trying to slow down and appreciate the small moments and like a little bit of quiet time each day to just, even if like around you, because you have kids, maybe it's not like actually quiet, but in your mind, it can be a little bit peaceful and quiet of just slowing down, realizing, hey, it's chaotic right now, but like these are the days that like I'm gonna wish back, 20 years from now and all of that. And I think just that mental process is so important because then it teaches you to just enjoy the journey, and each moment of the journey versus just waiting for the finish line to happen to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So exciting stuff. You just actually committed to another additional 6 months of coaching. So that's really exciting. So maybe we'll be doing another one of these like 6 months from now when you lose even more weight and a bigger transformation. I'm curious too if you've seen a lot of people from school yet or not. And if not, like I wonder like how many comments you're going to get on the people, when you go back to school, like other teachers and things of like, oh my gosh, like, you look so much different than what you looked before.
Yeah. That would be exciting. I've got actually I work with some amazing people and they're all kind of on different like fitness journeys as well, some of them and so we've met up over the summer some and it's fun to be able to talk about it really and kind of what they're doing, and like be a part of that conversation and kind of connect that way too. And so, it'll feel good. It's been fun, like getting to do some shopping and yeah, be down in sizes and feel good and not have that like frustration piece kind of where I was back in January. So, yeah, it'll be fun to get back to school.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why my camera shut off, but
Okay.
we're
I was
rolling
a
with
little
it.
worried there. I like pause for a second. Like,
Yeah.
oh, keep
Yeah.
going. I'm gonna keep talking.
But anyways, as we wrap up, any like just very last words that you would say to somebody who's, maybe on the fence about starting coaching, curious, if this is something, that would actually work for them.
I mean, the only way to find out if it works for you is to do it. And, again, there's so much there. It's so much more than like just a weight loss journey. And I do enjoy the like just the community piece of it as well. Like I mentioned earlier, like just women coming together that want to make positive changes for themselves, and everyone's kind of at their own kind of own where they're at on that journey. And so learning from those, even people like I can ask questions, my sister-in-law, and things like that, and be able to learn from others. I did go back and watch Meredith's podcast, and so it just was awesome to hear her journey. And hopefully someday I might be able to inspire someone else too. And yeah, I would just say, yeah, do it.
Yeah, I love that so much. And this is why like I do love doing this interview so much too, is because like you'd be so surprised at just like how many people you can inspire just from sharing your journey. Because they're like this is somebody that I relate to, or somebody that I even truly know in person. Like they're a real person. It's not just like a fake transformation, from AI, especially nowadays, like that you see on social media. And they're like, let me try this. And then they do it and they see so much success, and it brings so much joy and happiness to their life. And then they share their story. And it's just this huge trickle down effect where like you yourself, you might feel like you don't have the power to like help someone who's struggling, with their weight or health issues. But even just simply sharing your story, you do. And I think, Jamie sharing hers with you, like, was one catalyst. And, this could very well be a catalyst for somebody else too. So, yeah, we'll wrap up here because I don't want to take up too much of your afternoon. But I'm sure, if anyone has any questions, like I'm sure, Bethany's open to, answering any and filling you in of even more detail of her experience too, if you'd like. So, but yeah, really appreciate you taking the time to, hop on here and share your story. But like I said, 6 months from now, maybe we'll be doing another one. So
Sounds good.
cool. We'll wrap this up here and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Great.